Awesome. Hello, hello. All right, getting this set up. Gonna have Dr. Zelina. Perfect. Hello. Let's get her in. Perfect. All right, everyone. We are connecting with, here we go. Dr. Zelina.
Hey, Dr. Nell. Good morning. How are
Good
you?
morning. I'm good. How are you?
Just trying to fix some internet connectivity issues here, but looks
I
like
was
I'm good
having
to
the same
go.
issue. So,
So many people are going live right now. I love it.
yeah.
I saw several yoga studios that I know are live doing classes right now, and someone was doing a sound bath. So it's
Oh,
amazing.
that's so nice. I did acupuncture with a sound bath once, and it was incredible.
Oh my gosh. Yes. We
Yeah, we
do.
had like 40 people, and I did gold needles on everyone, and
Ooh,
then they had a sound healer there, and it was an incredible experience. And so many people, it was their first time ever doing acupuncture. So that was kind of cool too.
nice.
Yeah,
Nice. Yeah, I was hosting Acu Sound Baths, and the last one we did was out of this world.
yeah, it's kind of amazing.
It's very powerful to combine sound with the needling because it just really enhances those vibrations you're getting from the sound bowls.
I love like any type of combination therapies. I think it's so interesting, especially now, like people are incorporating so many different things and doing so many
Hmm.
different collaborations. So I think we're seeing a lot of very cool integrative medicine, really. So,
Yeah, it is. It is really cool. There's like CBD sound experiences. There's all sorts of stuff.
wow, so cool.
Ganja yoga.
Ugh, yeah, I feel
It's
like
awesome.
everyone needs a little extra healing right now, I think. So
Hmm.
it's an amazing time. I love that you said you saw people going live right now because it's like everyone's just trying to continue to provide value in a creative way
Yeah.
and collaborate with others like we're doing, which I love. So
Yes, it's so important to create value for people because it kind of like starts to close that gap a little bit where we're not feeling so separated from each other. And you know, it's really nice that even though we're all in our homes and most of us are staying home, we have something, some sort of community that we're building, whether
yeah,
it's, you know, through your yoga studio, through your different providers that you see or that you follow. But there is a sense of community here online, and that's the best that we can do right now. And we can connect with anybody from anywhere in the world, and I love it.
yeah.
It's amazing.
It's really a powerful time that we're living in when you choose to look at it like that. So but speaking of collaboration, you and I did our doctorate together. And I'm excited we're doing this live together. Do you want to talk a little bit first about your background? I mean, we're both acupuncturists, but kind of come from, different ways of treating, different specialties. So do you want to talk about a little bit about how you work and what you do?
Yeah, so I got into the world of acupuncture through my own personal healing journey from lupus and depression and addiction and a back injury. I had a lot of my own health issues that acupuncture really helped to save me from. It's no understatement when I say that acupuncture saved my life. And I also got into yoga and so many other things. But so my specialties tend to be more geared towards the things that I've been through on a personal level. A lot of the patients that I see really resonate with me because they know that I've been through it. So I get a lot of patients that have autoimmune conditions like lupus and thyroiditis and different thyroid dysfunctions. I also see patients that have a number of women's health complaints. And then obviously fertility, gynecology, anything around that. But what I'm most passionate about, and which I'm excited because we're going to talk about it, is the emotional and spiritual root in disease, and how something like lupus can correlate to a spiritual or emotional disconnect, as a child, or the child or childhood traumas, and how that affects us later in life on a physical level, where there's a physical manifestation of these symptoms, not just a feeling of sadness and depression, even though that in itself is also its own condition, but there's also a physical manifestation of a dis-ease, the discomfort that we're feeling in our own body. And so I've personally used a lot of different shamanic plant medicine ceremonies and rituals that have really helped in my healing process. And I often will incorporate some of those or refer people to see other providers for some of those types of treatments because, like you said, it's so important to collaborate and combine therapies. And it's all about that inclusion, where it's not about Western versus Eastern. It's more about integrating both. It's not about, modern medicine or traditional medicine. It's incorporating both when it's appropriate. And that's what I love to do. Is I love to borrow from different aspects and different theologies and bring what's most appropriate for the patient at the time. Because at the end of the day, it's really just me holding space for this person to find their own healing journey.
Yeah, it's about the person sitting across from you, whether that's virtually or in person. So, I think what's also really interesting about what you said with the collaboration piece and it shouldn't be Western versus Eastern. Like I'm very much in agreement with you on that when it comes to integrative medicine, but I also believe that from like a specialty standpoint within our specific industry, like we've talked about this, like there shouldn't be that like competition between acupuncturists or, people who happen to be in our field. Like I'm happy to refer to you for fertility. That's not the area that I specialize in. I want every person who seeks out acupuncture or is referred to acupuncture or is willing to try acupuncture to have an experience that is life changing, because it really can be that. It was that for both of us. Right. We've seen that happen in our practices. And I think the way that that works is, you're wanting to get better and you see a practitioner who's a good fit for you and for what you have going on. Like I see a lot of pain, a lot of like athletic recovery, post-surgical recovery is what my doctorate was in, my research. And that's what I love to see, what I'm really good at, what I spend my time researching. I'm an athlete too, so I love treating athletes. So I think there's room for everybody. And if you just always have that in mind, like what does the person sitting across from me need at this particular time? And who can I bring in to collaborate in that healing process? It kind of makes everything really simple and really easy if that's always the mindset that you have. Oh, hi, Katie. Hi, Leah.
I'm waving at our new guest that just joined
Our
us.
new guests that are joining. Yeah, so I think that collaboration is really powerful. And I think also what's interesting about what you said about emotions, which is really what we're going to talk about today, is there's started to be all of this research on stress and its physical manifestation in the body. And it took a long time for us to get to that point in the scientific community where it was like, oh, we see that stress actually has a physiological component and is damaging to the body. And I really see it catching up with all of these other areas, whether it's grief and sadness, whether it's anger, whether it's fear. Those are all things that cause a physiological stress. And just because we don't have that same data for those particular emotions does not mean that, we haven't seen this in our practices and that there isn't a very strong physiological component to these emotions.
Absolutely. Agreed.
Yeah. So that being said, I know you work a lot with the emotional and spiritual component. Are there like particular themes that you're seeing right now with people? Because I know immunity is like our hot topic, right? Like everyone's like, how do I boost my immune system? I want to protect my immune system right now. Um, but what are those emotions that can really affect immunity?
Yeah, that's a really good question and a really good point because I think what was happening before all of this coronavirus hit is it was every day, every patient that I would see, their number one complaint was stress. No matter what the patient came in for, if it was a woman for women's health issues, if it was a male for mood health issues, or if it was a geriatric patient for pain, everybody had stress. And that was the common theme across the line, across the board. Everybody was really stressed out. And that was a really big concern for me because it didn't feel like anything was dropping as far as our lifestyle and just the level of accomplishment or like just the level of activity that we're kind of having to just live on. We have to live on this level of activity that's just really high. And it was concerning for me because it was like we can't sustain this for a very
Right.
long time. It's only a matter of time before this just like boils over. And so that's what I kept thinking in the months leading to this complete shutdown. Um, and the stress piece is interesting because as you know, as we all know, it's fight or flight. It's that fight or flight state that we're currently in. And that fight or flight state that we're constantly in makes everything else shut down because our
Mhm.
body thinks that we're fighting this lion or this bear or we're about to like, we have to just be on this high adrenaline, high cortisol, high level of response, and everything else shuts down. Our immune system shuts down, our digestive system shuts down, um, our brain isn't functioning the way it's supposed to function. It's like we're constantly living in fear and panic. And those things really do us no good after. They do us good for that moment if we really are in danger.
Mhm.
But if we don't come back down from that, it's not doing us any good. And I see it like with close friends of mine who, single mom, has a job that is very demanding and has a family, and it's like it's always here and there and here and here and there, and she has no time for herself.
Yeah.
And I've seen her evolve through the years, her health evolve through the years, and I've always offered like, please come and see me, please come and see me, please come and see me. And it's disheartening because you can see your friend kind of like, I can't say wither away, but like, you see them just kind of like running on empty, running on empty, running on
Mhm.
empty. And that's hard to watch, because you want to help them, but they're not ready to accept the help just yet. And so it took this big major event for all of us to slow down. And so when this initially happened, I was kind of glad. I was like, we all need a break.
You need a
let's
timeout
let's do it.
because
We
we've
need
been
a
running in
timeout.
fight or flight as if that's normal and sustainable, and it's not.
Right, exactly. It's not sustainable. Oops. It's only a matter of time before the body just says no.
Right.
And that's actually the title of one of my favorite books on this exact topic, When the Body Says No, by Dr. Gabor Mate. He talks about the emotional, physical, spiritual, mental connection. And what he states in the book is that trauma, in past traumas, manifest into the body as different diseases. So different diseases match to a certain profile of a person. So like the cancer patient is
Mhm.
often a repressed anger uh,
Wow.
patient. An autoimmune patient like myself is a caregiver, a caretaker that never cared about their own needs, only everybody else's. And then there was another one. I think the ALS patient was someone that just couldn't say no and always was, yes, yes, I'll do it. Yes, I'll do it. Yes, I'll do it. And so all of these things really do play a role in how our immune system is functioning, and they do have an effect. There are not a lot of people that are willing to try to go deep into that, and that's okay because it's not for everybody to go deep. When you
Yeah.
start going deep, it's a freaking mess. A spiritual awakening, a spiritual healing journey is a mess, and it's ugly and it's hard, but it does have its rewards,
Hmm.
because you're rewarded with being able to really see the truth and not hide in that ignorance is bliss mindset.
Yeah. I
Does
always
that make
tell
sense?
people therapy is like not for the weak.
Yeah.
It's just, you have to want to get better and you have to want to do the work. And that's not easy or comfortable, um,
Mm-hmm.
or fun to process things out. Um, but that processing things out is necessary if you want to move forward and, not be stuck.
Yeah, exactly. So I know you mentioned what kind of emotions kind of suppress immunity. And so I'm just going to make give you guys a quick list of the emotions that actually have a detrimental effect on immunity. So one of them is sadness, being sad, anger, holding on to anger, repressing anger, not expressing that anger. Especially anger is it's a really interesting emotion because we're taught as kids not to express our anger. If a child throws a tantrum, especially in public, it's like, don't do that, you know? Whereas now that I'm a mom, I'm learning to like name the emotion, trying to allow and have that space for the child to express that anger. So anger is an interesting one because it's the main one that is repressed. It's one of the main emotions that gets repressed, especially I mean, I can't even say especially women or especially men because it's across the board. But I think men are more prone to having angry outbursts than us women. I think us women are really not conditioned to be able to express our anger because it's not a very feminine quality.
Hmm.
So anger is an interesting one. Grief, grief can also really shut down the immune system, and grief is really closely tied to sadness, anxiety, and despair. And anxiety and despair are both also very similar emotions in that you're feeling like you don't have control over yourself and you can spiral out of control in your emotion, and that can lead to other things. But those five main emotions, sadness, anger, grief, anxiety, and despair, are, I think, some of the most common ones that are seen, especially in mood disorders. And often is there often exists with an autoimmune condition a mood disorder as well. So like me, for example, I was going through depression. Sorry, my phone keeps falling. I was going through depression at the same time that I was diagnosed with lupus, and so it was very closely related because of the immune system. And actually, in Dr. Gabor's book, he calls it the PNI system, psychoneuroendocrinoimmunology. So it's your psyche, it's your neurons, and it's your endocrine system, which is your hormones, and then your immune system. So all of them are involved in any type of mental emotional disconnect. So
Would
really,
fear
it's
fall into that? Like, would fear fall into
fear
the anxiety and
and
despair?
despair. Yeah, actually, I forgot to list fear, but yeah, fear is a big one, and I feel like fear is kind of the main emotion that a lot of us are feeling with this pandemic. We're afraid of each other. We're afraid to be out. We're afraid to touch anyone. We're afraid to be in the presence of another, and
We're
we're
afraid of what
afraid
the
of
future
what's going to
looks like.
come. Yeah, we don't know what it's unknown. And fear definitely shuts down the immune system. So if these emotions aren't expressed in a healthy way and they stay stuck and they stay stagnant, number one, they're going to affect your immune system, but number two, they can have a deeper impact if it's prolonged, if it's a long time of this type of emotional repression. But then there are emotions that boost the immunity. Before I get into the emotions that boost the immunity, is there anything you wanted to touch on with these?
Um, Yeah, I think what's interesting, and this is something that, okay, so you and I being acupuncturists and studying Chinese medicine, like that was something we came to because it was very like transformative for us. But I came from a background that knew nothing about this medicine. Like I had never experienced acupuncture until I was in my 20s. But Chinese medicine, like the theory of Chinese medicine, really, for me, answered a lot of questions. And I think with the emotions, it's very interesting when you look at them from a Chinese medicine perspective in what we're experiencing right now. So, with all of the emotions that you mentioned being detrimental for the immune system, when that should be what everyone wants to have very strong right now,
Mm-hmm.
um, it's really interesting what we're seeing, particularly with fear, like you mentioned, and with the grief and sadness. And when I did a live on Wednesday with a woman, we were talking a little bit about this, and people ended up having a lot of questions about it. But, I think we're seeing like this is a respiratory illness, right, with COVID. And the emotion with the lung in Chinese medicine, being grief and sadness, I don't think there's really any accident with that. We have all this fear, and there's a respiratory virus going on, and people are experiencing a lot of grief and sadness and having a hard time, I think, not only processing that out, but reframing that and realizing that grief is not, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Like we, because emotions can be unpleasant, we like to label them as negative, and they do have detrimental effects on the body. But in order to process those emotions out, there has to be a certain reframing of, okay, grief can either be something was taken for you, or it's that you're voluntarily letting something go. So I think when you're sitting with, okay, like you said at the beginning of this talk, talking about how you had seen so much stress ramping up before this in your practice. And that's what I saw too. Like everyone was coming in with stress. And we both had this thought in our separate practices of this is not sustainable. What are people going to do? We can't keep operating like this. And then this pandemic happens. Everyone's forced into their homes. Everyone's forced to reevaluate. Everyone's forced to say, okay, what's serving me, what's not serving me, what can I let go of, what do I need to keep, how do I move forward? I think it's just very interesting with looking at the lung function in Chinese medicine, and that grief is this standout emotion right now. And then it's like, okay, well, like what do we do with it? And I think you can speak a little bit to that when we're talking about the emotions that, like, that's the reframing part. Like, what's the positive part of the lung? If it's not grief and sadness, it's open-mindedness and clear thinking. So identifying how can I reframe these emotions so that I know how to properly process them out and transform those into the positive emotions you're going to speak about, I think is just really powerful at this time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it can be challenging and daunting at first for somebody that is maybe in a despair state or a fear
Mhm.
state to try to flip that emotion into a positive. And I think what you mentioned is right on, is that we are not comfortable with these emotions. So we A, try to ignore them or repress them, or B, move through them so quickly
Mhm.
that we don't really give them a chance to move through and out of our body.
Yeah,
And I can tell you what's helped me the most. I just did a triathlon right before the pandemic
that's awesome.
hit. And I was not expecting the level of trauma, emotional release that I got from running. I've never really been into running. When I was in high school, I was an athlete and I did run, but I never liked it. And I was not into it as an adult for sure. So for me to run was like, oh, I gotta run. But it was very hard for me. And that challenge, that difficulty was what I needed to shake things out of my body. So I realized, I mean, as doctors, we know how important exercise is, right, on a physical point. But when you're going through it and you're realizing, like, wow, like I'm moving my body at this speed, at this motion with all this, friction and all these different physical motions and activities, a lot of this stuff is releasing. It's moving. Those emotions are moving through me and moving out. And I would also journal and do yoga and stretching. And that was really powerful too. So I can't stress enough how important it is to A, sit with those uncomfortable emotions, and then B, do something to allow them to like observe them, experience them, and allow them to move through you so that they don't stay stuck, so that they're not repressed and turn into a disease later.
And I
So
think it's,
definitely, sorry.
yeah, go ahead. I think it's important to mention too that this is something that sustainability wise, long term wise, is going to be much more powerful than just taking a vitamin or a supplement to help boost your
Mm-hmm.
immune system. Like, this is something that will be beneficial for you beyond the current situation that we're
Mm-hmm.
in. Um,
Absolutely. I think it's these habits that so now I'm not training for anything, but I'm still running. I actually ran this morning and I was like, yeah, I need this movement. I need to keep this going. I need to keep running, even though I've never been a fan of running. Now I understand that runner's high or that runner's meditation. It's so important to really allow things to be shaken up and moved around, especially for someone that hasn't been physically active. It's hard at first. It's very hard, and it's because it's uncomfortable. And it's because you're moving stuff that's been stuck and is familiar. And that's why it's comfortable for you, because it's familiar. And that's why I was saying in the beginning that those spiritual awakenings are not comfortable, is because you're moving things that have been there for a really long time. You're creating new patterns and you're just doing things different. So movement and journaling are really great for helping to kind of process, observe, and release your emotions.
That was going to be my next question for you, because I think there's this misconception that, oh, to process out emotions, like, to have any type of spiritual experience, it has to be this, like, like I have to have a shaman or I have to go, like, I think there are simple ways that people right now can be working to process things out. And movement
Absolutely.
and journaling, like you just mentioned, are two really powerful ones. Do you have any other suggestions, or are those your two main that you really like?
I do have other suggestions, but just to touch on what you just said, it is about making this accessible and practical so that anybody can do it. It's so important. And I think the most powerful thing that you're going to have for yourself is because, healers don't heal you. I'm sure you're in agreement with that. We don't heal
Yeah,
anybody. They
absolutely.
heal themselves. We're holding space for them to heal themselves. So the patients are the ones doing the work. You guys are the ones doing the work. I'm the one doing the work for myself. Dr. Nell is doing the work for herself. Everybody's doing the work for themselves. So it's really important to have a practical tool or set of tools that you can do that are going to resonate and make sense for you. So for me, it's been running and journaling, but also having the power of intention and the power of faith. Those are going to be your biggest healers. So if you're running, but your intention isn't there, like you're just doing it because I'm saying it's good for me, but it doesn't resonate with you, it may not be the tool for you. But if you have the intention and it resonates, and you're putting that intention and you're putting that faith behind whatever activity you're doing to help you process these emotions, it's going to be 10 times more powerful and you will get the benefit. So intention and faith behind anything you do is number one. And what did you ask me? What else?
Yeah, I mean, if those are the things, though, I think those are like great starting points for everyone. And what I like about those suggestions with movement, with journaling, with intention based anything, again, sustainable behaviors, like life lessons, things that we want to carry with us forever, not just as a quick fix during the current given situation. It's something that's going to help us with the current situation that we're in, but it's a life lesson, a lifelong learning
Yeah.
that we can do with all of that.
And it's something that you can keep doing, like you said, it's sustainable, so you can keep doing it
Yeah.
anytime you need to. I mean, running is great because you can run or walk, you know. Some people may have physical issues where they can't run. Walking is just as good. And, you know, there's studies that say that walking actually helps you lose weight more than training at the gym.
Yeah.
Walking helps to lower your stress hormone, cortisol. So walking is also good. The other really big thing for me that has helped me and a lot of people I know and patients I work with is being out in nature, whether it's at the beach, whether it's in the park, on a hiking trail, your backyard, your front yard, anywhere where you can find a tree or some grass or something, just connecting back to the earth and connecting back to nature, because that is where we come from. We are beings of nature, and our bodies, our hearts, our brains are tuned to the same frequency as the earth. All of these wireless gadgets that we're using are actually distracting and distorting our own frequencies, our own signals. But our bodies are I'm gonna go walk at the park after this. Yes.
Yes.
Awesome. Our bodies are microcosms of the entire universe. We are just like a tree. We are just like a mountain. We are just like the leaves in the trees. We are just like all of these different things that we have access to every day, anytime we want, you know?
Yeah. And
So
there's been a lot of studies about grounding,
mhm.
like
And forest
for,
bathing.
yeah, like anti-inflammatory properties of grounding. So 40 minutes a day of standing on the ground significantly lowers inflammation. And I had seen a study about the 40 minutes a day, like being very similar to NSAIDs. You know, it's powerful.
So much.
And now I think, you know, like some parks are closed, like it's not as easy for people to, you know, go to the beach or go to the park, but even just like you said, like reminding your body that you're also like in need of nature. I have a really small balcony and it only gets the perfect sun between 11 and 1 every day. And I've been making an effort to just go out there during that time because even 15 minutes of sunlight has felt life changing.
Mm-hmm.
Just to be like, okay, I'm getting like my nourishment right now from the sun, from the earth. So the little like modifications people can make to all of these tips right now, like it has to be accessible. So
Totally.
it can be fun and get creative with it. So
Yeah, I
um,
mean, you can walk to the store. And I mean, I'm lucky that I live really close to a park and really close to the store. So when this all started, I would walk every day to the park with my daughter in the stroller. And I felt really good when this all started. I was like, I needed a break. I wanted to spend more time with my daughter, so I'm cool. Then it started raining a lot, and so I was kind of stuck indoors for a little bit. And then it really started to affect me. Now that the sun's out again, and I actually came out to the desert just to have more open space, it's made such a difference. Just being able to be out in nature, feeling all of the elements. And then, you know, sunshine has vitamin D, as you know, Dr. Nell. Vitamin D really amplifies your immune system, amplifies your mood health. I mean, there's
yeah.
tons of studies on all of that. So
Yep.
it's no accident that nature is designed so perfectly in the most perfect way that nature can provide everything we need as long as we can stop tearing it down, you know, but
Yeah.
nature can provide everything we need. For every problem we have, there's an herb that exists to fix it. Um, the grounding is really helpful for helping us to not feel so scattered and up here when we want to come down and be more present inside our bodies. The grounding and feeling the earth on our feet is really helpful. The ocean is very healing. I actually was lucky enough to go to the ocean briefly before we came out here. There was a lot of people running and on bikes and skating and everything, but you know, with distance.
Hmm.
Um, and that was just healing in and of itself, just watching the ocean so close to me because I felt so connected to the ocean. Like Like, yes, like we are one. We're one with nature. Being one with nature really helps to boost your mood, helps to boost the immune system. Walking, moving, processing, observing your emotions, letting them be, and then letting them move through you eventually. But not rushing that process, because when you rush that process, you're still gonna have to come back to it and things resurface.
It's not
Um,
sustainable if you rush it. And now is like a perfect time to take some time with things and not rush the
yeah,
process. We've been
now
like
is the
put in a
perfect
forced
time.
time out.
Forced time out, totally.
So before we wrap up, I do want to swing back to, we talked about the emotions that damage the immune system, and kind of ways to process through those. What are some emotions that benefit the immune system? Because I think, not everyone's filled with damaging emotions. We have those, but we also have these really powerful emotions that we can amplify and
Mhm.
cultivate and, help boost our immune system with that.
Absolutely. One of the biggest medicines, I think, is laughter. Laughter
Yeah.
really helps to boost the immune system. And, laughing at yourself or watching something that makes you laugh, laughing at your daughter because she does funny things, whatever makes you laugh is really, really helpful. And they actually do like laughter meditations and laughter yoga because of its immune boosting benefits and its mood boosting benefits. So laughter is number one. Smiling is really helpful to boost your immune system and boost your mood and your health. Even if it's a forced smile, sometimes you have to fake it before you make it,
Yeah.
right? So, if you're feeling down, go smile at yourself in the mirror. Eventually, it'll be authentic. Joy, joy is a really good one. And aligning with the frequency of joy is really important right now. Finding joy in the small things, and celebrating those joys. Wonder, the
Mm.
word wonderful, and like looking at things with wonder. Now that I have a 2-year old, I think I'm more able to see that, because I'm looking at the world the way she is, and she's only 2, so everything for her is like, wow. And so I'm just watching her also going like, wow, because it's
Yeah.
like, what is she observing right now? And look at how amazing this leaf looks. Look at all those little lines. It looks just like our veins, and just kind of seeing what parts of nature that I connect with. Musing, just like looking at something that's going to kind of incite those creative juices that you have, musing at different things outside in the outside world, musing at the people that you're around, and musing at, just life's funny things. And marvel is kind of similar to muse, but just like marveling at nature's wonders and the beauty that exists all around us. And I think that's kind of key, is our mood, and how our mindset, where our mindset is when we're looking at the world around us. Like the whole optimist versus pessimist, is the cup half empty or is the cup half full?
Hmm.
It just depends how you're looking at things, and looking
And I
at
think
things from
sometimes
a
that's hard
positive
for
lens.
people. Yeah, I think sometimes that part of it's hard for people.
Yeah,
This like, well,
takes
how do I just
practice.
flip this? So I think that's why what you spoke to earlier about, hey, like it's okay to have these emotions and it's okay that it takes time to process them out. But as long as we're doing that process, like it's okay.
Yeah, it takes
Because those
practice.
things are going to come. And yeah, it absolutely takes practice. And if you don't choose, the body's going to choose for you. And whether that's, succumbing to illness, having a lowered immune system. Um, Funny story when you're talking about laughter. So my partner, every time he gets needled, like he loves acupuncture. Every time he gets needled, though, he laughs. Like not just like a little like tap the needle in and giggle, like a hearty, like full on laugh, like there
Where are
was
your
this stuff
needles? I need to
that
try
needed to
those.
like be released. And so I used to joke with him and say, "Oh, you're just emotionally repressed." But it is like it's a healing process for him, and he responds so well to acupuncture.
That's
Like
amazing.
more than like anybody, I mean, just like that. So
We
like
should start telling jokes
incorporating
during
that.
acupuncture.
Exactly. And then like laughing and you get an extra benefit with the needles. I'm
Yeah.
convinced. That's why I'm convinced you're right. Like laughter is absolutely a powerful medicine because when you combine that with acupuncture needles, it's like, oh, Katie said she has a patient who does that too. Yeah.
Nice.
No, it is really interesting. They like have an added modality of laughter to help with their healing. So,
Nice.
uh,
Maybe I'm gonna hire my friend who's a stand-up comic to just be
just
in the
stand in the
corner
corner while you're needling.
while I'm kneeling to get that extra benefit during
Yeah,
acupuncture.
absolutely.
That's amazing. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it takes practice. And, you're talking to someone who has a lifelong history of depression, and it's been a lot of practice for me to kind of get out of that mindset and be more on the positive end. And I'm not saying like every day is full of wonder and every day I'm feeling laughter and joy, because I don't. Just a couple of days ago I was severely depressed, but I know my tools. And so I did my
Hmm.
yoga, I went for a run, I journaled, and I got it all out of me. I shook it all out of me, and I'm still, it's a work in progress sometimes every day for a really long time. And, sometimes it's for a short time. Everybody's different and everybody has a different story, and your body processes things different. So, if this works for you, if running works for you, great. If journaling works for you, great. If that doesn't work for you, there may be something else that you can do. And, in that case, you can work with someone to help you find those individual tools that speak to you. There's also color therapy where you're coloring, artistic therapy, creative expression. There's so many different ways and tools that can be used that fit your personality and your body type. But I would say just like try to work with somebody that can help you find
Oh, we
that. I went away
no,
for a
that's
second. I'm
okay. I
back.
came back. I was like, are we, did we lose you? Um, so you were saying like, yeah, try to find somebody who can help you identify that. So that's a great
Yeah.
way. I put both of our Instagram handles up there for you guys, Acuvita Acupuncture, and myself, Be Well with Dr. Nell. We're both here in LA. I'm in Beverly Hills. What part of the city are you in?
I'm in Highland Park, which is right between downtown and Pasadena.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I
But
thought.
I'm also virtual, so anywhere in the
Yeah.
world.
We're virtual, we're here. Everybody's adapting to that too, you guys. So, there are more than needles. We talked about a lot of tools that can be really helpful. If you guys are feeling overwhelmed about how to start any of that, we're here to help. But I like what you said about it being a process. Like, let's just remember it's a process. And I think there's a really beautiful way that we can accomplish a lot of this right now. You could end up finding joy in a hobby that you would put on the back burner, and that hobby happens to be something that's also helping you process out emotions. So it's a really key time to experiment with that and find some really good sustainable behaviors that are beneficial for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Now is best time as ever. Everybody has so much time. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm sure parents maybe have a little bit more time to spend with their kids, but we still have so much more time now than ever.
Yeah.
So now is the time to really like get your health on track, focus on what's important to you, finally address that nagging symptom that you've had for a long time and you want to figure out what it is. If it's not me or Dr. Nell, there are plenty of other people out there that can help you with your specific concern, and help you reach whatever health goals you have. But I think now is a better time than ever to really establish some really good, healthy routines that you can continue on after this quarantine is all over. And start building a new sustainable lifestyle.
Yeah. I love that. Take advantage. There's no time like the present. There's actually been no time like the present. So,
Yeah, I mean, I often will see patients and I say, gosh, like this person just needs to stop working for a little while and just focus on their health for
yeah.
2 solid months and they'll be good. Well,
Yep.
now we can do that, most of us.
Exactly. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining. I'm
Thank you
really
for
glad we
having
got to do
me.
this. It was amazing to collaborate with fellow doctoral cohort member and talk about
Same.
immunity. So I'll save this video. So if you guys missed it or just joined towards the end, it'll be up on stories for the next 24 hours. And I think we're also going to be putting them on our individual YouTube accounts too. So you guys will have access to it. All
Yay,
right.
awesome. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out to us via DM.
Yes, they'll be saved right there. All right. Thank you so much. It was good to see you. Thanks, guys, for
Same. Thanks,
joining.
Dr. Nell. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.